very good morning to all. This is Prashant Pandey, and in this lecture, we will discuss the liabilities of trade unions under the Trade Unions Act 1926. The Trade Unions Act 1926, along with certain rights, has also imposed certain liabilities on the registered trade unions so that a balance can be maintained between the rights of the trade unions and the rights of the other individuals and society at large. So under the Act, Section 50, Section 16 and Section 28 provides for certain liabilities which should be fulfilled by the trade unions, that is the registered trade unions under the Act. So under the Act, basically two liabilities has been imposed on the registered trade unions. First is constitution of funds. It has been provided under Section 50 and Section 16. Section 15 talks about the constitution of general fund and the objects for which these general funds can be utilized, and under Section 16 the trade unions has been authorized to constitute a political fund for the political gains by the trade unions concerned. The second liability is under Section 28, according to which the registered trade union should submit all the returns, yearly returns, before the auditors appointed by the government for a transparency in their activities. So we will discuss these liabilities one by one. First we will discuss about the provisions of general funds which has been provided under Section 15. Section 15 of the Act specifies certain objectives on which general funds is to be spent. Section 15 of the Act specifies the objects on which general fund of the registered trade union is to be spent. The general funds of a registered trade union shall not be spent on any other objects than the objects which has been expressly mentioned under the provisions of Section 15. So first object for which the general funds can be utilized is for the purposes of payment of salaries, allowances and expenses to office bearers of trade union. So out of the general funds, the salaries and allowances and other expenses, official expenses of office bearers of trade union can be made. Second objective is the general fund can be used for the payment of expenses for the administration of the trade union, including audit of the accounts of the general funds of the trade union. So out of the funds of general fund, the administrative expenses including the audit of the accounts of the trade union can be incurred. The third objective is for the purposes of prosecution or defense of any legal proceeding, the funds provided under general funds can be utilized. Further, the general funds can be used by the office bearers for the conduct of trade disputes on behalf of the trade union or any member thereof. So for the purposes of contesting any trade dispute or presenting any trade dispute before the employer or before any concerned authority, the funds provided under Section 15 can be utilized for that purposes. It can also be used for the compensation of members for loss arising out of trade disputes. If any loss has been caused to any member of the trade union due to certain trade disputes, so for the purposes of compensating the losses to the members, these funds can be utilized by the trade unions. It can be utilized for the purposes of allowances to members or their dependents on account of death, old age, sickness, accidents, or unemployment of such members. So, for these purposes also, the funds out of general funds can be utilized by the trade unions or the office bearers of the trade union concerned. It can also be utilized for the issue of or the undertaking of liability under the policies of assurance on the lives of members or under policies ensuring members against sickness, accident, or unemployment. So these funds can be utilized for providing life securities to the members of the trade union concerned, or for incurring any medical expenses incurred by the members in case of any accident or sickness. It can also be utilized for the provision of educational, social, or religious benefits for members, including the payment of the expenses of funeral or religious ceremonies for deceased members or for the dependents of members. So, for the education of the children of the members of the trade union or any kind of social or religious benefits for the members, these funds can be utilized by the trade unions. After that, these funds can be used for the purposes of upkeeping of a periodical published mainly for the purpose of discussing questions affecting employers or workmen as such. So, for any issues, for any matter for which a periodical publication is necessary, in that situation, for the purposes of that publication or for the maintenance of the record of that publication, these funds can be utilized by the trade unions. After that, these funds can be utilized for the payment in furtherance of any of the objects on which the general funds of the trade union may be spent of contributions to any cause intended to benefit workmen in general. So, for any purposes in the form of any contribution from the side of trade unions for the benefits of workmen in general, these funds can be utilized out of the general fund of the trade unions. Also, these funds can be used subject to any conditions contained in the notification any other object notified by the appropriate government in the official gazette. So, along with these provisions which has been provided under subsections A to J, if any purposes has been mentioned by the appropriate government in their official gazette, in that situation also the general fund can be used by the trade unions for that purposes. Otherwise, out of these objectives, the general fund cannot be utilized for any purposes which has not been specifically mentioned either under the provisions of section 15 or has not been provided by the government in its official gazette. In the case of Mario Raposo versus H.M. Bhandarkar, 1994, Bombay, it was held by the Bombay High Court that no provision of the Trade Unions Act allows the trade union to spend on speculative activity. In this case, the office bearers of trade unions purchased unit trust shares in their individual names. The Bombay High Court in this case held that the purchase of shares which is being floated and is in existence in the current share market cannot be termed as an investment. It is undoubtedly a speculative activity, bristles against the industrial jurisprudence and the philosophy of Trade Unions Act 1926. So in this act, the Bombay High Court was of opinion that the general funds cannot be used by the office bearers for their own use or for any speculative objects which has not been provided under the provisions of section 15 or by the appropriate government. Moving further, section 16 provides for the constitution of political funds. According to section 16, a registered trade union may constitute a separate political fund under section 16 clause 1 of the act. The political fund is constituted under section 16 clause 1 for the promotion of the civil and political interest of the members of the registered trade union. The political fund is constituted from contributions separately levied for or made to that fund. So, for the purposes which has been mentioned under the section 16 of the act, a separate political fund can be constituted by the trade unions for the political gains which should be achieved or which the trade unions wants to achieve, and for that purposes the payment of any expenses incurred either directly or indirectly by a candidate or prospective candidate for election as a member of any legislative body constituted under the constitution or of any local authority before, during or after the election in connection with his candidature or election. The political funds or the funds out of these political funds can be utilized in favor of any member which is going to represent the trade unions concerned in any legislative election or legislative bodies. These funds can also be utilized for the holding of any meeting or the distribution of any literature or documents in support of any such candidate or prospective candidate. Also, the political funds can be utilized for the maintenance of any person who is a member of any legislative body constituted under the constitution or of any local authority. So, if any member of the trade union is already a member of any legislative body, so for the maintenance of that person, for their expenses, the political funds can be utilized by the trade union concerned. This fund can also be used by the trade unions for the registration of electors on the selection of a candidate for any legislative body constituted under the constitution or for any local authority. And at last, these political funds can be used for holding of political meetings of any kind or the distribution of political literature or political documents of any kind. So, for the purposes of any legislative or political gains, the political fund can be used by the trade unions concerned, and for that purposes a separate political funds can be constituted by the trade unions but it is necessary that no member shall be compelled to contribute to the fund constituted under subsection 1, and a member who does not contribute to the said fund shall not be excluded from any benefits of the trade union. So the contribution to the political funds by the members is not a mandatory contribution as is in the case of general funds, and any member, if he wants to contribute to the political funds, then he can on their own contribute to the political funds, and no compulsion can be caused by the trade unions on the members of the trade union for such contributions. The last liability which is imposed on the trade unions concerned under the Act is the returns of registered trade unions. Section 28 provides that every registered trade union must prepare a general statement annually. This annual general statement contains all receipts and expenditure of the trade union for the year ending on 31st day of December. The general statement also contains the statement of assets, liabilities of the trade union as it exists on 31st December of the year. The annual general statement is prepared in such form and comprises such particulars as may be prescribed. So, under the provisions of section 28, it is the duty of the trade unions to present the general statements of the trade unions before the concerned authorities for the inspection of the auditors. The annual general statement prepared by the registered trade union is audited annually by the auditors or auditors. The auditor or auditors are appointed in accordance with the regulations. According to regulation number 15 of the Central Trade Unions Regulation 1938, the auditor or auditors shall be given access to all the books of the trade union. The auditor or auditors verify the annual return with the accounts and vouchers relating thereto. After verification of the annual general statement, the auditor sign the auditor's declaration. The auditors may give a separate statement under their signature. This statement shows in what respect the auditor find the return to be incorrect, unvouched, or not in accordance with the Trade Unions Act 1926. So, it is the duty of the trade unions concerned to provide all the necessary information relating to the working of the trade union concerned before the auditors, so a transparency can be maintained in the functioning of the trade unions concerned. Thank you so much.